Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today. We are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes. But if you would like to get on the list for a personal reading, the list, as always, is open. As always, it is 3 cards for a donation of 28 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 22 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read across these platforms. That is pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in a private reading, and you can book a private reading on my site. That said, we are going to get started on today's daily collective read, but let me know how you're feeling. Let me know how you're enjoying this energy. Here's the thing. We've got something very important coming up. We've got some big news. We've got some very big news. Long time coming. Mars is going direct tomorrow. And I know, here's the thing about it. We've got a week without a retrograde. We have not experienced this year without having a retrograde yet. It's been a lot. And the thing with this Mars retrograde that has been so challenging is simply the fact that we've spoken a lot about this. It's not the fact that confidence is high. It's not the fact that confidence is low. It's that it vacillates. It feels like it swings wildly. And if you've been experiencing this, if you've been feeling if you've been feeling out of sorts, if you've been feeling confused, if you've been uncertain, well, you have a lot to thank with the Mars retrograde for a lot of those feelings right now. But there's also been a lot of really beautiful lessons that have been occurring within this space, specifically and particularly. A lot of the lessons and a lot of the messages that have been coming through in the readings have been focused around the idea of identifying warrior energy. Remembering that confidence and courage are often misconstrued for one another. Confidence and courage are like twin cousins. They look very similar. They're very different. Because when you have confidence, it doesn't require courage. You don't need to be brave in the face of something that you feel sure about. Courage is what we do when we have to navigate uncertainty, right? And often, ironically, having courage is simply the ability to face one's fear, right? And I'm telling you right now, this Mars retrograde, and especially with this new moon, this full moon in Leo that we just experienced, it'll take some whacks at your ego, right? If you are going through this period from an egoic space, and we spoke a little bit about this too, because a message that was coming through with that Leo full moon was like, get down on your knees. But the reason it was about getting down on your knees is having to do with the fact that it's about navigating the space of humility, right? And we talk a lot about this here. We talk about the fact that it's not about the idea of trying to get rid of the ego entirely. You need the ego. Your ego is like a shield, right? If you're battling, if you're working through something, the ego is there to protect you. But what happens when it's too big? When the ego is too big, you can't see past it. It's like holding a shield that blocks you from being able to perceive others. And we do that from a place of over-compassion for the self. The ego does not show up when we hate ourselves. Sometimes the ego shows up when we're too afraid to face the world around us, right? We often see it's protective. It's not a weapon, it's a shield. And that's why it takes a lot of bravery and this is what we talk about with shadow work, right? Shadow work is about facing one's own ego, looking at one's own shield. It can be cringe, right? It can be hard. It can be painful. It can make you cry, right? Because you understand, like every dent in it, you remember where it came from, right? Every moment that you had to build something up, it's all about repair work. So if we were navigating, and that's why I was saying, like, this Mars retrograde, while it may have been exhausting, depending as to whether you experience, like how you've experienced it, there has also been a massive opportunity to heal, right? And it's a type of healing that starts with acceptance of what needs to heal, right? I basically, the thing about that Leo full moon that we just experienced in the heart of this retrograde has to do with the difference between looking at the self and saying, I got a lot of work to do, but saying so with like a deep amount of compassion, right? Like kneeling in honor of the work that you know that you are tasking oneself with. But that's why I said, even now, if you approach that Leo full moon more in the space of the ego, more in the space of wallowing in the feelings, right? More in the space of not necessarily actively listening to the feelings, because we talked a bit about the misconception that honoring the feelings doesn't mean that you just say whatever the heck you want to say. Honoring the feelings is not about just saying the thing you want to say. Honoring feelings is about introspecting upon how we feel, to understand what the feelings are asking for, right? So I almost kept on getting the message saying, like, apologies were either coming in the heart of the Leo full moon, right? Apologizing to the self, forgiving the self, bringing forth apologies to those around us. But if you are coming through that Leo full moon, just expanding upon or expounding upon how one feels without introspecting upon the reasons why, it may have felt like you backslid a little bit. It may have felt like you regressed, right? And may even be the experience of others encountering someone and they feel that sense of disappointment because something that occurs during that Leo full moon just amplifies the fact that something hasn't changed. But I will say, this is having a big impact depending on where you find yourself on the frequency cycles. And I have seen across all of the frequencies, there's been a lot of alignment between masculine and feminine energy over the last few days. I think we're going to see another shift. We saw a huge shift as to where others were sitting within frequencies during the last planetary alignment. I believe we have another one coming up because it feels very anticipatory. It feels like a lot of energy that is building up the courage, right? Building up the courage, amping oneself up, right? to take that leap forward. And especially and particularly for energy and separation right now, because everything I keep on seeing for the energy and separation over the last few days has felt like Virgo Aries energy, right? There's been a shift. There's some energy in separation that's already moved into their manifestation. They just haven't met their person yet. And why are we seeing that? Because we see that there's a change in condition, the way one is navigating the world, observing how much one has changed as it relates to your own perception. A good manifestation changes you as you move in accordance to it. So we see that if this is energy that is being cautious, conscientious, feels fear in moving forward, that is because they're holding themselves preciously. They're in Virgo energy. And they are embodying the same qualities and characteristics that they're going to be finding in counterpart because they're not haphazard about it. They don't want to, they're afraid to move forward, not because they're afraid to let go. They fear losing progress. They fear encountering something that they experienced in the past. I keep on getting the message that for a lot of the energy right now in separation, they've got the ick. And whenever I get the message from Spirit that says you've got the ick, it's because something that you used to find compelling, you now find distasteful, right? You're like, something that would have intrigued you, you're like, right? Another indication of energy that's moving towards manifestation, because as we move towards our manifestations, we start to embody the qualities and characteristics that we are looking to find in another. But there's a lot of that sense. I told you, there's a little bit of this revving energy as Aries is starting to go direct. Next week is going to be big. Next week, there's going to be a lot of stuff, activation happening, because that's the first week we're going to have without a retrograde. And then, boom, we go right into that Venus retrograde, right? And then we've got eclipse season. For energy coming into divine union right now, I'm just seeing that this is contemplative time, a moment of appreciation, and I see a lot of nostalgia that is forming. And why do I see the fact that there's nostalgia forming? Because that energy, I keep reading it as being Aries and Aquarius. They're finding Aries in the past. They found something in partnership that is changing their perception of their own history. And so I see a lot of that energy going, I want to go, I'm going back, but they're not actually going back. They're not opening up situations from the past. They're exploring their own archives, right? Because awakening it sometimes does not mean awakening to the reality of the moment. It's awakening to our own lessons. It's awakening to our own stories. So for a lot of that energy, finding something in the present that is reframing their perception of the past is why I see a lot of that energy in that sense of exploration of the self, right? Because that is the energy that's diving into the past, finding new lessons, bringing back up pearls. While for masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union right now, I just keep seeing that for a lot of this energy deep within divine union, it feels very much like Aries and Gemini. There's adaptability here. It's very, and the thing is, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. Gemini and Aries have one very key component that joins that sign work and their lessons. Gemini and Aries frequently don't consider failure a possibility because they simply don't choose to rest upon it, right? Gemini and Aries share a bit of this perception, which is, if you ever meet a Gemini or Aries, they'll say like, I've never failed in anything in my life. I got tired of doing things, right? It's a lot of work on surrender, understanding that surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means we stop insisting upon something. And so I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now, the gift that the counterparts give one another is being able to recognize that sometimes perception changes everything. So what is this energy saying as they're trying to have breakthroughs? Are they trying to do the same thing again and again and again, harder and harder? No. They're saying to the universe, help me see. A good manifestation is not one that we demand. It's when we hold our priorities and then we work in collaboration and in harmony with the universe and say, help me see how I'm standing in my own way. Help me see the path that gets me to where I desire to be. Help me understand and recognize what I need to change within myself to move in accordance. This should sound familiar. It's the same work that we see that the energy in separation is actively doing. So we're recognizing and identifying that for a lot of that energy deep within divine union, that Swiss Army knife energy that is so characteristic of Geminis, that adaptability is almost like I just hear that energy saying, I can change. I can change, I can change, I can change. And the sense of saying I can change almost sounds like a battle cry, because it's the energy that says success is imminent so long as I figure out the perception or the position that I need to be in order to achieve it. That is where we find all of the energy prior to beginning today's daily collective read. Now, if you would like to catch that full reading, you can find it over on the place where we keep the videos. You can also find it over on the place where we keep the photos. You can also find it, if you prefer, as a podcast over on my spot at Tarot Church or over on my Substack. That said, we are going to get started with today's daily collective read in the next few minutes. But if you would like to get on the list for today, you will be the second person read for. It is 3 cards for a donation of 28 or more, 4 cards for a donation of 22 or more for my subscribers, Binks and Mylayo. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read across these apps. Those are pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in a private reading, and you can book a private reading on my site. If you get on the list for today, you'll be the second person read for. Congratulations, Lucy. You have the first spot, so you'll also have an additional card in your reading. I will also stress we're keeping the list rather short today, so if you'd like to get on the list, please make sure you do so sooner rather than later if you'd like to secure a spot on the list. We're also doing 2 giveaways today. We'll be doing a giveaway when we get to 50K likes. We are already at 3K. Thank you guys so much for tapping that screen. We'll get to 50K in no time. We're also doing a giveaway to the highest gifter between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. So I wish you a lot of luck in winning that as well. Hello there, Orlando and Mackenzie. Welcome, Danae. So good to see you this beautiful morning. Lucy, heads up, your subscription's ending soon if you'd like to renew. And welcome, Remy. How are you doing, Donald? Grand Rising, Siobhan. Grand Rising Joy. Thank you, Lucy, for resubscribing. Looking forward to our reading. Hello there, Purr. How are you doing today? Earth Angel. I helped get you to 1,000 likes. Oh, thank you so much, Earth Angel. I deeply appreciate that. And thank you so much, Tiki, for the follow. Hello there, CM. God, I love when you're on early. The best background noise while I get ready. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad to be helping you start your day, dear. And thank you for the follow, Freddie. As I mentioned, we are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes. A couple of updates before we begin. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our class this week on the Wheel of Fortune. We will be continuing our class studies. For those who could not make the class live, the class is now up and available, as well as the course materials for paid subscribers to our Tarot Church Substack. You still have time to join if you would like to receive access to that class. As a monthly subscriber, you will have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library. And our next class will be held on Wednesday, March 19th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Justice card. So your monthly subscription will also be your ticket of entry into that next live class as well. You'll also have access as a monthly subscriber to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've studied thus far. And if you choose to become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount to the full year's worth of classes, but you will also have access to the entirety of the Tarot Church archive. You'll also have access to an optional mentorship session with me, wherein I will meet with you personally and we will assess where you are on your personal tarot journey. And I'll give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize both the classes and your own personal practice to the best of your advantage moving towards your personal tarot goals. One of the things I tried to do with these classes is make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us. And if you are a subscriber here on the Clock app, or if you are a member over on the place where we keep the videos, head over to our subscriber-only Discord channel, because there you will find a special coupon code that will give you an additional discount to that Substack subscription. Even if you don't become a founding member to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings, services. I post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. Also, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. They are focused on each individual's personal spiritual growth goals and spiritual journey work. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those